Over the past decade, many European Union governments adopted measures against the LGBTQI community. These measures include laws, policies, and informal practices. For example, smear campaigns sponsored by the government to attack the reputation of LGBTQI people, abusive legal proceedings, and a strict state control of the access to public funds. At Reclaim, we have done long research on these attacks and identified common trends all over the continent. The fight against the so-called gender ideology is often at the center of the campaigns against LGBTQI people. Reactionary governments create a narrative in which they say that with these laws they are protecting children. This is a false emotional argument that works well. In Hungary in 2018, for example, the government prohibited gender studies courses in a university. Also in Hungary, in practice, it is banned for minors since 2021 sex education that mentions any sexual diversity. As Hungary has private organizations providing sex education courses, the government created a system of registration that makes it impossible for organizations providing inclusive sex education courses to be registered by the government. Publicity featuring LGBTQI groups is also restricted, with media outlets and companies having to pay big fines if they show LGBTQI people. This anti-LGBTQI wave in Europe doesn't stop there. The right to marry and adopt is also being restricted for rainbow families. 6 member states do not recognize same-sex union, and 1 member state, Hungary, even prohibits in their constitution same-sex marriage. And for trans, non-binary, and intersex people, life in the EU is far from any minimum standard of dignity. Trans people have to face abusive, long, and unclear bureaucracy, besides the indignity of treating them as mentally ill. Cyprus, for example, requires that they undergo surgery, sterilization, and a mental health diagnosis. The Czech Republic and Slovakia require undergoing surgery, sterilization, hormone treatments, and other medical tests, and also receiving a mental health diagnosis. The worst case in Europe is again in Hungary. In 2020, the parliament passed a law banning people from changing the gender they were assigned at birth on official documents. All this is happening before the eyes of the European Union, right within the EU. As we have just seen, LGBTQI people are being targeted by reactionary forces in Europe. And as you can imagine, this is also affecting the work of LGBTQI organizations and rights defenders. Reclaim has identified 4 major limitations and attacks against LGBTQI groups in the EU. Firstly, we have smear campaigns designed to discourage citizen support to LGBTQI groups and also damage their reputation. The strategy is simple. The governments repeat and repeat that they are protecting family values and protecting children from pedophiles and from people who want to destroy the family, in order to distract the population from their power grabs. In Poland, for example, we have seen these years the infamous LGBT-free zones, alongside the capture of the judiciary and the media. Secondly, we have abusive lawsuits against LGBT human rights defenders. These lawsuits are called SLAPs, and in the case of LGBTQI organizations, defamation and anti-blasphemy laws are used to bring criminal charges against these groups and to intimidate them into silence. Thirdly, freedom of assembly for LGBTQI activists in Europe is also under threat. We can see attempts in Lithuania and Poland to ban pride marches. And finally, we also see measures aimed at limiting LGBTQI groups' access to public and private fundings, which is obviously essential for the functioning of the organization. The EU has to ensure that everyone is treated equally, including LGBTQI people. And for this to happen, European governments have to be held accountable for violations of LGBTQI rights. And this can be done, for example, via infringement proceedings and the enforcement of the rule of law conditionality regulation. EU member states should stick together and develop a common strategy to bring such violation of fundamental rights to an end.